distancia. Yo sé que cuando eres niña, niño o adolescente, no es fácil quedarte en casa. Quieres ver a tus amigos, salir a jugar o ir de paseo. No te preocupes, esta situación pasará pronto. Aprovecha para jugar y crear. Lee, inventa relatos, investiga historias. Hazle caso a mamá y papá. Ayuda en las labores de la casa y haz ejercicio. Así, serás un héroe o una heroína contra el coronavirus. Y recuerda, quédate en casa.
Gobierno de México.
One, two.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Hoy vamos a empezar
Today we'll
una
be
sesión muy especial.
having a very special session.
Son las 19:02 horas. Estamos
It
en el
is
Palacio Nacional.
7 p.m. with 2
Vamos a
minutes. We
hablar
are
de
at the
COVID,
National
la
Palace,
pandemia causada
and
por
we'll be
el
talking
coronavirus.
about COVID,
Pero
the
hoy
pandemic
una
caused by the new
audiencia
coronavirus.
muy especial.
But we'll have a
También
very,
están aquí
very special
nuestras
public.
compañeras y compañeros
We have our
comunicadores.
colleagues,
Allá
our
está todo el
communicators,
público
journalists
de
on the
el
audience,
país entendiendo
and
esta
we also have
situación.
our public
Pero
who is
tenemos
watching us
a
from
las niñas y niños.
from
Hoy
their
es Día
homes
de la Niñez
all over the
y nos
country,
da
all across the
muchísimo
country.
gusto
But
saber
we
que
also have
niñas y
our
niños de
children
México están
watching us
interesados
today,
en
and we are
saber
very
qué
happy
pasa
to
con
know that
COVID, qué pueden
children
hacer con la
are very
epidemia,
interested
cuándo va a acabar,
in
cuándo pueden
understanding
ver a sus
COVID
amiguitos,
and
cómo
in
pueden
finding
hacer
out
que esta epidemia sea
when is
más
it going to be
llevadera.
over,
Y
how
hoy por
can
eso
they
tenemos esta
navigate
sesión muy especial.
through it,
Agradezco
and
de
that is
antemano a todo
why
el
we
equipo de
have this
comunicación
very special
social,
session
a la
today.
Dirección
Thank you
General
to
de
all
Promoción de
the
la Salud de la
communication
Secretaría de Salud
team
por haberlo organizado.
and
Y
also to the Ministry
le
of
damos la
Health
bienvenida a las niñas y
for
niños que nos
organizing this
acompañan. Nos van a
event,
hacer varias preguntas.
and welcome to all
Mandaron
of
más
the
de
children who are
3,500
joining us today.
videos con preguntas,
We
con
received
dibujos,
over
con comentarios.
3,500 videos
Desafortunadamente no
with
podemos atenderlos
all
todos
sorts
y
of
cada uno,
commentaries,
pero
questions, and
seleccionamos
interesting
algunos que pueden ser más
content, and we
representativos de
selected
las
some of
inquietudes que
the
tiene la
most
niñez en México
representative ones
en estos tiempos del COVID. Y hoy
to
están en vivo
address
aquí
all the doubts
un
that
conjunto de niñas y
children in
niños.
Mexico
También vamos
have
a
regarding
presentar
COVID.
algunos de los videos que nos
We will be
mandaron.
presenting some
Y
of the
les damos la
videos that we
bienvenida, niñas y
received,
niños que nos
and we
acompañan.
have
Muchas
also
gracias.
with us,
Gracias por estar aquí.
connected
Gracias y felicidades
remotely
por
from their homes,
resistir intensamente
some
esta
of
jornada
these
nacional de
children.
sana distancia
Welcome,
y mantenerse
all of you. Thank you for
activas y activos
being
en sus
active
casas,
in
pero dentro
your
de sus
homes,
casas por quedarse en
inside your
casas.
homes, and thank you for
Muchas
staying
gracias.
home. Thank you
Vamos a
very much.
empezar en el orden en el que han sido asignadas
Let's
y
start
asignados.
according
Y
to
le
the
damos la palabra a
order
Melissa
that we
Alvarado Palma
previously assigned
para que nos
to each of
exprese
you.
su pregunta. Y
And let's
vamos,
start
por
with
favor.
you, Melinda.
Hello,
Hello,
Dr.
Dr.
Hugo López Gatel.
My name is Melissa. I am 8. I live in the state of Tlaxcala. And I am a little sad during this quarantine period because people are dying. I'm also somewhat upset because some people are not abiding by the measures. Specifically, they're not staying home. So I would like to ask you, how can we contribute, we children all over the country, to be better prepared as a nation for dealing with this pandemic? Thank you, Melissa. This is a very helpful and very important question because children have a very important role to play. You can, first of all, you can stay home and you can share all of this information with your parents, with your uncles, with your aunts. You have a very important persuasion power because your voice is very valuable. So spread this message within your homes, within your families. We have to stay at home. We have to be physically distanced from one from another, although very well connected emotionally. But physically, we have to be separated for now. And to the extent that we continue to do this, the pandemic will eventually start to decrease. Now, Daniel, it is your turn.
Buenas noches,
Good evening,
secretario Gatel.
Deputy Secretary Gatel.
Mi nombre es Daniel Chávez
I am
Gallegos.
Daniel Chavez Gallegos.
Tengo 8 años
I am
y
8
vivo en
and I live
Villahermosa,
in Villahermosa,
Tabasco.
Tabasco.
Mi pregunta es,
My question
¿cómo
is,
actúa el coronavirus en nuestros cuerpos?
how does coronavirus act in our bodies? Thank you, Daniel. This is a very important question as well. Yesterday, my teacher, the Secretary of Health, explained this actually for the adults, but now we're going to be doing a children's edition of this explanation. The virus is not even a living being. It is a particle that infects and arrives into our bodies by the millions. It enters through the eyes, through the nose, and through the mouth. And we get it from other people who are already infected when they sneeze, when they yell, when they cry. And if they are too close to us, we get some of their saliva and of their secretions that are coming out of their noses and of their mouths. We get it on our bodies. And so the virus enters by the millions into our body and starts by settling in our throat and then goes into our bronchi and our lungs. This settling in our lungs has an inflammatory reaction and causes coughing and causes fever. And these are some important symptoms. In some cases, 2 out of 10 people on average, we can see some lung inflammation, and this is the severe version of COVID because it impairs the respiratory function of people, and so they need to seek for more specialized medical attention. But fortunately, most people have a natural recovery process. They don't need to have any special medical care, but the ones who do need to go and be hospitalized. Thank you, Daniel. Now, Victoria, it is your turn.
Hola,
Hello.
Adelante, Victoria.
Yes, go on, Victoria.
soy Victoria.
I'm Victoria.
Tengo 8 años y vivo en Mérida. Y quiero
I
hacer
am
una
8
pregunta.
and I live
¿Por
in
qué
Mérida.
se llama la enfermedad coronavirus?
And I want to ask you one question. Why is the disease called coronavirus? Thank you, Victoria. The coronavirus is called coronavirus because when you take a look at it using a microscope, and we need a very, very powerful microscope, which is an electronic microscope. So when we look at this virus through the microscope, it shows some little spikes on its outer part, and it resembles a crown, the kind of crown that was used, that was worn by kings and queens, and that's why we call it coronavirus, because it sounds like a crown, which is the Latin version of crown is corona, so it comes from there.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Guillermo
Good evening, my name is Guillermo Alexander,
Les saludo desde acá de Tuxtla Gutiérrez.
and I'm
Y mi pregunta es,
calling from Tuxtla Gutierrez, Chiapas, and my question is,
es una enfermedad terrible, siendo
why
que
is
han existido
coronavirus
otros virus
considered a terrible
como
disease,
más mortales
since we've had
como la
other
influenza o la
diseases
peste
in the
negra?
history of the world, such as the influenza or the Black Death, who were even more fatal to humanity. Yes, it is a new virus, and it has been a great surprise to all of us. Today we have the coronavirus, and we have the disease COVID, which is caused by this virus, and we have it all over the world. These kind of diseases used to be only within the animal kingdom, and they lived very in a happy way among animals, and the virus were already adjusted to the animals and the animals to the virus. But it happened that one day the humans started approaching animals and started getting closer to animals because they started domesticating animals, or they started invading the territory of these animals. and that
empiecen a afectar a los
caused
humanos,
this
buscando
virus to
enfermedades nuevas
start
que no
affecting
conocemos
humans
y
and causing
generalmente
new
cuando son
diseases that
enfermedades
we
nuevas,
didn't
los
know.
organismos de los seres
And when we
humanos
have
no
a
están
new disease
adaptados
that comes
para
up,
resistir al virus.
human
Tardan
organisms are
varios
not
años en que se
adapted
logre
to
resistir al
resist
virus
these
y
viruses.
en algún momento
It takes us
este tipo de
years to
virus
adapt
seguramente
as a
pasará como
human
el
species
coronavirus a
to
lo
deal
largo
with
de
these
algunos
viruses,
años,
and
ya nos
this will
adaptaremos y
happen
ya
with
no nos va a causar una
coronavirus most
enfermedad
probably.
tan grave.
After a few years, we will be adapted and it won't be such a terrible
Vamos a darle
disease
la palabra a
anymore.
Mariana Cantón
Alright,
Vivaldo.
Mariana Canton Vivaldo, now it is
Mariana,
your
por
turn.
favor.
Mariana, please.
Buenas noches, doctor Gatel. Me llamo Mariana Cantón Vivaldo.
Hello,
vivo en
Dr.
Tlaxcala,
Gatel. Good
tengo
evening.
11
I'm
años.
Mariana
Y
Canton
lo que le quiero
Vivaldo. I
preguntar
live in
es por qué
Tlaxcala.
utilizamos
I am
el método
11.
centinela y para qué
I
sirve
want to
este
ask you
método.
about the Sentinel
Esto me lo han preguntado muchas
model.
veces.
Why do we use
El
it
método
and
Centinela, para decirlo en pocas palabras, es un mecanismo
what
para
is it
vigilar,
good for?
para identificar
Well, the
dónde está
Sentinel
circulando el virus
surveillance
y a qué tipo de
model
personas
is a
afecta.
mechanism
Hay
that allows
distintas
us to
personas que
monitor
tienen
who is
enfermedades
getting infected
como
by the
la
virus
diabetes,
and
como la
what kind of
hipertensión, como la
people are
obesidad,
getting infected
o
by
que
the
fluyen,
virus.
por ejemplo,
There are
enfermedades
some
pequeñas,
factors such as
dañino para cualquier
smoking
cosa,
or
pero inclusive
obesity,
puede aumentar el
diabetes,
peligro de tener
hypertension that
coronavirus.
can
Como este es un
increase the
fenómeno que
risk
ocurre
when
en
getting
toda la
infected with
población, llega
coronavirus.
un momento en que
Because
no se
this is
puede
a phenomenon
identificar
that
a
exists
una persona tras otra
in
tras otra.
all the
Eso sí,
population.
todas las
The
personas
time comes
merecen
in
y
which we
cuando lo
cannot
necesitan
identify
deben ser
one
atendidas médicamente.
each person that
Pero para poder
gets
entender
coronavirus.
por dónde va el
Of course,
virus y
everyone
qué
has
tan
a right
importante es
to
la
a medical
epidemia,
treatment should
no
they need it,
necesitamos
but
identificar a todas y cada una
we
de las
don't
personas.
need to
Y
identify
tenemos un
each
método
of
más
them in
eficiente
order to
que
deal
existe en
with this
México desde el
pandemic
año
efficiently
2005, en
because we
donde
have a
con
method
un
in
pequeño
Mexico that
grupo
exists
de
here
hospitales y de
since
clínicas podemos
2005,
reconocer
in which
para
by
el
using
país
a
y para
small
cada
amount of
estado por dónde va
specialized
el virus, qué
monitor
tanto está
medical
afectando
units,
y si la
we
epidemia
can
va
have
para
a
arriba
better,
o va para
a
abajo.
very good
Este es el
idea
método
of what are
Centinela.
the trends
Muchas
that
gracias,
the
Mariana.
pandemic is exhibiting in our country. And
Vamos
this
a
is the
darle
method,
ahora no la
the
palabra.
Sentinel method.
Tenemos un video
Now
y
we're
dibujos
having
y
a,
nos lo pregunta
we have a
Alexandra
video and some
Ramos
drawings
Rodi.
that were sent by
Adelante,
Alexandra Ramos. Alexandra, please.
Hola, doctor Gatel. Soy Alexandra.
Hello, Dr. Gatel. I am Alexandra. I am
Quiero
6.
hacer una pregunta.
I have a question for you,
Si no está ocupado.
if you're not too busy.
¿El coronavirus se va a resolver en
Is-
cuánto tiempo?
How long is it gonna be before we can solve coronavirus?
Mayo 7.
I hope it
Mayo
is
8 es mi cumpleaños.
it is by May the 7th because May the 8th
Quiero hacer
is
una
my
fiesta con
birthday.
mis amigos.
So I would like to throw a party with all of my friends.
Hasta mayo 7.
Do you think we could solve it before my birthday?
Muchas gracias, Alexandra.
Thank
Qué
you very
buena
much,
pregunta.
Alexandra. What a beautiful
Mira, la
question.
epidemia se va
Look,
todavía, nos
this
faltan varias
pandemic,
semanas.
we still
Vamos a
we still
seguir
have a few
siguiendo
weeks to
estudiando la
go.
epidemia.
The
Por
pandemic
lo
is gonna
hasta
continue
mitad de
to
mayo. No te
increase
puedo
in
garantizar
intensity
que tu cumpleaños lo puedas
during the
festejar
upcoming
con tus
weeks,
amigas en presencia.
and it will
Pero como no
remain with
tenemos
us
medios
through the whole
electrónicos,
month of
puedes
May. I
hacer
cannot
una
guarantee that we
fiesta
will have
por lo
solved
menos
it
que no pase
before your
desapercibido
birthday,
tu cumpleaños.
but at least you
Pero
can
definitivamente
use the
no se va a
internet
poder
to
con
share
amigas
your
y
birthday
tus
celebration with all of your
familiares.
friends, but definitely you
¿Cuándo
won't
va?
be
No lo
able
sabemos a
to
ciencia
have them
cierta.
over
Como
in
decíamos,
your
esta es
house.
una enfermedad
How
nueva.
long before
Estas
we
enfermedades nuevas hay que estarlas
solve this
entendiendo a cada
problem,
paso que
we
van
don't
dando.
know.
Y
This
nos
is a
tenemos
new
que
disease,
adaptar
and
a
as
estas
any other new
epidemias.
disease, we have to
Lo que sí
adapt
es que
to the
si nos
development
quedamos en
that
casa
we
y
observe
nos
day by
mantenemos
day.
a sana distancia
But what
unos
is
de
true,
otros,
and I can
pero
tell you
además
this, is
nos lavamos
if
las
we stay
manos
home and we
continuamente,
keep our
si
safe
llegamos a
distance
presentar
and we
síntomas
wash our
de
hands
estornudar, nos
frequently
tapamos boca y
and
nariz
we
con
cover
gasas
ourselves when we
acompañantes desechables,
sneeze,
con todas estas medidas vamos a
by
lograr que la
applying
epidemia
all
se
of these
controle más
measures, we
rápidamente.
will control
Es
this
es
pandemic
posible es que en junio ya
quicker.
estemos casi de salida
And it is
por lo
very
menos de
likely
esta
that
primera oleada.
by
No
June
sabemos aún
we will
si
be
va a haber otras oleadas quizá
exiting
en
this
el otoño
first
y en el
cycle,
invierno.
at
De
least
todos
this
modos,
first cycle.
Alexandra, pues te felicito por
We
tu
don't know if we will
cumpleaños,
have a second or
disfrútalo
third
mucho.
cycle when the autumn or
Vamos
the
a
winter
darle la
come.
palabra
But
ahora a
happy
Aldo
birthday
Bautista
in
Becerril.
advance.
Adelante, Aldo,
Thank
por
you for
favor.
your question.
Hola, buenas noches.
Hello,
Soy
good
Sandro
evening.
Bautista Becerril,
I
soy
am
residente del Modelo
Sandra Bautista
Municipal del Estado
Becerril.
de México. Y
I
lo que
live in the
quería
state of
comentar
Mexico
es
and
que
I
me
would
siento
like to
preocupado por la pandemia de COVID
express my
y
concern
la
about
verdad me
the
gustaría
COVID pandemic
ayudarlos.
because I am upset
Así que
and
mi
sad
pregunta,
at the same
doctor,
time
es
because I would like to be
¿cuáles son las
doing more for my
recomendaciones que nos
country.
da
So, doctor, what are the recommendations that you have for us, the children, so we can be better
combate
prepared
pandemias. Muchas
and
gracias.
contribute to our country
Muchas gracias,
in the
Aldo.
control
Qué
of this
buena pregunta,
pandemic.
qué
Thank you very
importante.
much, Aldo.
Hay muchas
Very
cosas que
important
los niños y
question.
las niñas pueden
There are
hacer
many
ahorita.
things that children
Ahorita
can
lo que
do
pueden
right
hacer
now.
es tener las medidas de precaución
They
general,
can
como ya dijimos,
abide by
mantenerse
the
a sana
general
distancia,
prevention
mantenerse en
measures
casa,
that we have
lavarse las manos
explained, washing
muy
your
seguido,
hands, staying at home, keeping your
comunicarse
safe
con sus
distance,
papás y mamás y abuelos y
communicating
todos los
with your
parientes para transmitirles estos
relatives in order
mensajes.
to spread
Ustedes
these
pueden vigilar,
messages, and you
pueden
can
ayudar a que
also
la familia se
monitor
motive
um,
y
your
adopte estas buenas costumbres.
monitor
A
that
veces
these
los
measures
adultos
are
ya nos
being
acostumbramos a cosas
abided by,
nuevas
and
y,
you
por
can
ejemplo,
help your
antes que no
family
se lavan manos,
members
ustedes
to
pueden estar
remember
diciendo,
implementing
recuerda
these
que hay que
measures.
lavarse las
You can
manos
remind,
continuamente
sometimes
para no
adults
enfermarnos. Si
forget
alguien va a salir de
about
casa,
things. You can
ustedes
remind them
vigilan
of
y usted le dice,
washing their
no
hands
salgas de casa.
constantly. If you see they're gonna leave the
Después,
house, you can
ustedes les
remind
va a
them
tocar vivir
not to leave the house.
muchos años después
Now, you're
donde
gonna
puede ser que se presente
have
otra
a
epidemia.
all of you
Las
are gonna
epidemias se
live
van, se
long and
presentan.
prosperous
Si
lives,
ustedes se
and it
preparan
is
para
possible
entonces,
that you will come
como
across another
generación,
pandemic
vamos a tener una
later
mejor
in life,
actitud
many
cada
years
vez
later.
como sociedad
So, if you
para
prepare
trabajar juntos
yourselves
unos y
to
otros,
deal with
comunicarnos
that,
bien,
and to the degree
estarnos
that we have
ayudando
a
siempre,
better
estar vigilando que
attitude
los
and a better
vecinos, amigos,
organization as a
parientes
society
o
in which all
sencillamente los
sectors of
desconocidos
societies
estén bien.
are
Hay que
working
cuidarnos
together
unos a
and we are
otros.
caring about
Y
our
ya si alguien
neighbors,
quiere
our family
estudiar
members,
epidemiología,
and even the
pues puede ser
strangers,
una contribución
then we
muy
can
útil
be more
para
effective in
controlar las
overcoming these
epidemias.
challenges. And
Gracias,
if
Aldo.
any of you want to become an epidemiologist
Vamos a
when
darle
you
la
grow
palabra
up,
a José
then
Carlos
you will
Figueroa
be
Ruiz.
doing a much greater contribution to your country in this regard. Thank you very much. Dr. Gatel, I hope you're very well. I would like to know what is the difference between the confirmed cases and the
Gracias,
active
José
cases.
Carlos.
Thank you, Jose
Esta
Carlos.
diferencia la hacemos
The difference
básicamente para
is
distinguir la
basically
enfermedad que
a
todavía
way
está
of
presente en las personas, que al multiplicarla
a
por
way of
miles, quiere decir que
setting
hay
apart
miles de personas, hoy tenemos más de 5,000 personas
two different
que
types
pueden
of
estar
cases because
contagiando.
right now we have
Estos son los casos
5,000
activos. Una
cases,
persona que se
which are the
infectó
active
en los
cases that
últimos
could
14
be
días
spreading the
y
disease
la
as
mayoría
we
de
speak
ellas
right now.
tiene
Yeah?
COVID, que es la enfermedad.
Remember, these
Puede
people who
estarlo
get
propagando
infected,
de la manera que ya lo
uh,
dijimos, a través
most
de
of
la
them
respiración,
are in
etcétera.
are in danger
Etcétera.
of spreading this
En
disease
cambio,
right now
personas que se
by
infectaron hace
coughing,
más
by
de 14
sneezing,
días
etc.
ya pasaron
But we are talking
su
about the
momento
people
de
who got
enfermedad.
infected
O
14
bien
days
se
ago
complicaron,
or less than
y esa es
14
una
days ago.
posibilidad,
But
y
those
salieron
people
del
who got
hospital,
infected
o bien se
over
recuperaron,
14
la
days
gran
ago,
mayoría de las personas,
most of
y
them
que ya
have
no están
recovered
contagiando. Y
and
por
they are
eso
not
las
spreading the
contabilizamos,
disease
las
anymore.
contamos para
Some of them
identificar
had been
cuántas ha
hospitalized
habido
and they
y
also
realmente
not
las que son
spreading
más
the disease
importantes,
anymore.
porque hay que
So
darles los cuidados
the
médicos
active
ahorita
cases
y también
are
porque hay que
important to
procurar
know
que no
this
contagien ahorita son las personas que se contagiaron
because
en los últimos
they are the
14
ones
días. Estos
that
son
we
los
want
casos
to
activos. Gracias, José
have
Carlos.
our eye on. We
Vamos a
have
darle la
center
palabra
our
a
attention
Sofía
on these
Rufo
cases to
Villarreal.
prevent them from continuing spreading the disease and to provide the proper care for them. Hello, Dr. Hugo. Good evening. I would like to know if my little kitten
Muchas
could
gracias.
get infected with
Sí,
COVID-19.
las mascotas pueden tener también ciertas
Yes, well,
enfermedades
pets
causadas por virus.
can
De este
indeed
virus
be
específicamente,
infected
el
by
virus SARS
diseases
CoV-2,
that
que
are
es el que
caused by
causa
viruses.
el COVID,
Specifically,
no se ha
this
demostrado que se
COVID-19
propague
disease,
la
which is caused
infección
by the
de las
new
personas
coronavirus
a sus
SARS-CoV-2,
mascotas.
it
Ha
hasn't been
habido algunos
proven
casos que se
that
han
there is
identificado,
transmission
por
from
ejemplo, en
human
China
to
se
pet.
hicieron algunas
There have been some cases
observaciones de
that
que
have been
algunos de los
observed.
mascotas habían
China,
infectado.
for example,
Esto
that
puede pasar, por
some of
ejemplo,
the
con otros
pets in
virus.
China
Los virus
had been
influenza
infected,
pueden
and
infectar
this
a
can
gatos,
certainly happen
perros,
with other
caballos,
viruses. For example,
burros, vacas,
influenza can be
gallos,
transmitted
gallinas,
to
mucha de patos y
horses,
demás,
to
cochinitos
dogs,
también.
to
El
pigs,
COVID
to
es
many
posible
kinds
que
of
logre infectar
animals.
a otros animales,
The
incluyendo mascotas,
COVID-19, it
pero
is
todavía no se ha
possible that
demostrado
can be
que esa
transmitted
transmisión
to
ocurra mucho.
pets,
Muchas gracias, Sofi,
but
por tu
it hasn't
pregunta.
been proven so far conclusively.
Vamos a ver ahora fotografías y otro video
Alright,
de
now we're gonna
Alexis
take a look
Niño
at
Hernández.
some
Adelante,
photographs and
Alexis.
another video by Alexis.
Hola, doctor López Gatell.
Hello, Dr. Lopez
Mi
Gatell.
nombre es Alexis.
My name is
Y mi
Alexis,
seña es esta.
and this is my
Yo le quiero preguntar
signal, my sign.
si algún niño por casualidad llega a contagiarse de COVID-19.
I want to ask you if
¿Cómo se lo
a
llevan? ¿Se lo llevan a un hospital?
boy or a
Ahí
girl
puede estar
gets
con su
infected
papá y
by
su mamá,
COVID-19?
con él?
How do they take him away to the hospital? Can he see
Muchas gracias,
his mom and dad or her mom and dad?
Alexis. Tu pregunta es muy importante.
Thank you very
porque tu
much,
pregunta
Alexis.
nos hace
Your
pensar.
question
Tú
is
dices
very
un niño
important
como yo.
because
Todos
you're
los
talking
niños
about a
somos
kid
como yo.
like
Todo mundo
you.
es un yo que merece
Well,
ser tratado con
everyone
respeto,
is a
con
kid
cariño,
like
con
you.
atención,
Everyone is
con
a
cuidado y ser
human like us.
protegido
All of us
por la
deserve
sociedad,
to be treated with
principalmente
respect,
cuando se es
with
niño.
love,
Así que
with care,
esto que
and
tú me
especially
comentas no
children.
tiene por qué ser un
So
impedimento. Tú hablas con un lenguaje de señas
this
y
doesn't
tienes
have to be
derecho a ser
um,
incluido, integrado y respetado.
this makes no difference. You speak in sign language, and you also have the right to be cared for, to be treated, and to be given every other right that every other kid has. The attention must be the same, and the treatment must be the same for you or for any other kid or any other human in the world. Thank you so much for your question.
Vamos a darle la palabra a Santiago Vallejo Martínez.
All
Adelante,
right, Santiago, now it's your turn.
Ah, es un video.
Oh, it is a video.
Video de Santiago Vallejo Martínez.
A video by Santiago Vallejo Martínez.
Hola, mi
Hello.
nombre es Santiago.
My name is
Este
Santiago.
soy yo.
This is me.
Yo estudio en el Camp 52.
I study at Camp 52,
Yo soy sordo.
Mexico City. I
Tengo
am
una
deaf,
pregunta. Si me
and I have a
contactan
question.
coronavirus
If I get infected with
y me llevan
COVID-19,
al hospital, yo he visto que los doctores y
I'm
las
taken to
enfermeras usan
the
cubrebocas.
hospital. I've
¿Cómo
seen
se
doctors and
comunican
nurses
conmigo?
using
Si utilizan
face
la lengua de
masks.
señas mexicana.
So
Eso sería todo.
how
Gracias.
would they communicate with me? Would they
Muchas
talk
gracias,
in
Santiago. Gracias.
Mexican Sign
Como
Language?
acaba de preguntar Alexis,
Thank you, Santiago.
también
Just
tú tienes todos los
like the
derechos a
question
ser
that
atendido
Alexis just
de la
posed,
manera
you have
idónea.
every right
Y
to
que tú
be
hables con
provided
lenguaje de
with
señas
ideal
no
healthcare.
tiene que ser un
And the
obstáculo,
fact that you
pero
speak
tienes
in
toda la
sign
razón.
language
¿Cómo te pueden
should
entender
be
si
no
usan
obstacle at
cubrebocas?
all.
Tú no les vas a entender a los doctores.
But you're
Y a las
right, if
doctoras.
they're wearing a
Entonces,
face mask,
aquí el punto
how are
es,
you going to understand
todos
them?
tenemos que apoyar
So
al
the
que
point
tiene una
here is
necesidad.
we
Si
all
tú
need to
tienes
be
una necesidad
supportive of
de que se
anyone
te
who has
hable
some
de una manera que
necessity
tú
of
puedas
some kind.
entender,
If
y
you
el
have a
cubrebocas es un
necessity
obstáculo,
of
médicos y médicas y enfermeras y
being
todo el mundo
communicated to in
tiene
a
que ver la
certain
manera de
way,
hacerse
and
entender.
the face mask
Entonces,
is
puedes
an
activar
obstacle
a
to
través
that,
de señas, puedes
doctors
que
and
le pidas
nurses
ayuda a tus papás o
have
mamá
to see
a que
how to
te
solve
transmitan el
that
mensaje o
impediment.
sencillamente
So
se
they
apartan
can
un poco,
communicate
se
using
quitan el
sign language,
cubrebocas
or
y
maybe if they
hablan
cannot use
hacia
sign
otro
language,
ladito para que tú
can
los
step
escuches.
aside a little
Pero
bit
la
and
manera
remove their
existe
face
y
mask
tú debes
so that
tener
you
toda
can
la
look at their
atención.
mouths
Muchas
and you can
gracias,
understand
Santiago.
them. But there are ways to solve this, and you
Vamos a
have
pasar
every
ahora
right
sí,
to
en vivo está
medical
Daniel
care.
Gómez Silva. Daniel, por
All
favor.
right, Daniel Gomez, it's your turn now.
Buenas noches, doctor Hugo López Gatell.
Good evening, Dr. Hugo Lopez Gatell.
Me llamo Daniel Gómez Silva.
My name is Daniel
Tengo
Gómez
8
Silva.
años. Vivo
I'm
en
8.
Tecámac, Estado de México.
I live in
Mi
Tecamac,
pregunta es,
State
si
of
los
Mexico.
niños con discapacidad pueden
My
enfermar del
question is if
COVID-19 y cómo
children
nos
with
ayudar.
disability can get
Gracias,
infected
Daniel.
with COVID-19,
Sí, niños
and
y
how can
niñas
we
y
help them?
también adultas y
Yes,
adultos con
children,
discapacidad,
boys
cualquier
and
tipo de
girls,
discapacidad,
and adults
pueden
with
enfermar de COVID.
any
El
sort of
COVID no distingue
disability
a nadie.
can
Puede
indeed be
presentarse
infected
en
with COVID.
cualquier persona que
The
esté en cualquier
COVID-19
condición.
disease
Pero
makes
las
no
condiciones de
distinction
discapacidad, la
between
situación de tener una
age,
discapacidad,
gender, or
también
any
nos
other
obliga a
condition.
todas y todos los
But
que
the
estamos alrededor de la persona con discapacidad de
The
vigilar
specific
que las
condition of
condiciones
having a disability
permitan que llegue a la atención,
obliges the
que se le
rest of
atienda
us to see
correctamente
that
y
this
que no haya
person
ninguna clase de obstáculo
has the proper
físico o de
has access to the
comunicación
proper
o del
health care,
espacio o
and
de
that
la
there are no
capacidad y aptitud de las
impediments,
personas.
no
Así que
obstacles,
también
and no
todas las personas con discapacidad
funny
pueden enfermar de
attitudes
COVID
from the
y
people
todas
who
las
are
personas
providing
con
this
discapacidad
health
deben
care.
ser atendidas
All
correctamente,
people, including people with
ajustándonos a
disability,
sus
must
necesidades.
be cared
Muchas
for,
gracias, Daniel.
and we need to
Vamos
adjust
a darle la palabra a
our,
Sofía Montserrat Melo.
our care to their necessities.
Adelante, Sofía.
All right, Sophie, it is your
Hola,
turn.
doctor Gatell.
Hello, Dr. Gattel.
Me llamo Sofía Monsalvo y vivo
My
en
name
el
is
estado de
Sofia. I
México.
live in the state of
Mi
Mexico,
pregunta es,
and my question is,
¿cuándo podré volver a mis terapias?
when can I go back to my therapy
Gracias,
sessions?
Sofía. Qué importante pregunta.
Thank you, Sofia. What an
En
important
todo
question.
momento
At all
existen
times,
necesidades de atención en
there
distintos
are
campos,
needs
ya sea para
for
atender una
attention
enfermedad,
in
ya sea
different
para resolver
dimensions,
un asunto de
either
una
to
terapia,
provide
como lo que tú comentas en tu
treatment
caso.
for a specific
Desafortunadamente,
condition,
ahorita sí
or
tenemos que interrumpir
to
algunas de las
engage in
partes de la
therapy
atención
sessions,
de
like in
salud,
your
en
case.
este caso las terapias de
Unfortunately,
rehabilitación,
during
para
this
garantizar
period of time, we have had to interrupt some services like the ones you are referring to prevent people from being infected with COVID. And what we are going to do is that these safe distance measures are just going to stay with us for the necessary amount of time. As long as we can, we will start lifting restrictions and opening different spaces and reestablishing services such as your therapy sessions. All right, César de Ávila Martínez, it is your turn now. Good evening. How are you, Dr. López Gatell? I'm from Coahuila and I'm 12. My name is César. My question is this. I've heard that there are people who do not vaccinate their children and they go against the recommendations and the directions of the Ministry of Health in doing so. So how are we going to deal with these people? What's going to happen with these people once we have a vaccine for the SARS-CoV-2? And how is this going to affect the rest of our society? Thank you, Cesar. Vaccines are a crucial element in public health all over the world, and they have prevented people from all ages from getting sick, and they have helped maintain their well-being and their general health. In Mexico, we have over 14 different vaccines that we use systematically to prevent such diseases from happening. Each vaccine has a specific time frame, a specific age that it should be applied, and we have a system to keep track of all of these. In recent years, we've had, well, not so recent, because this is a phenomenon that has been happening since the discovery of vaccines, but we have people who believe that vaccines are in some way harmful, and they are against vaccines. But these beliefs usually have to do with incomplete information and with lack of communication. So that is why the Ministry of Health has a mechanism that is called Promotion of Health, and it's aimed at ensuring that the whole population gets to know accurate and solid scientific information regarding their health and regarding vaccines as well. So these people who do not believe in vaccines, we need to get this information to them and persuade them otherwise. All right, now it is the turn of Daniela Sabina Saavedra. If soap kills coronavirus, why don't they do vaccines with soap?
Gracias, Daniela.
Thank you, Daniela. And that is why we have to wash our hands constantly, because coronavirus has a fatty surface, and it is it's very common for this virus to get stuck in the fatty surfaces that we have on our hands, on our skin, and when we use soap, we dissolve these fats, and then we get rid of coronavirus. But soap cannot be in any medium. Soap cannot be inside our blood, and the vaccines are usually injected into our blood. So vaccines are made from many things, but they are not made from soap. All right.
Mr. Gatell, my name is Surna. I have 10 years and I live in Jalapa, Veracruz. I understand that we can all get COVID-19 and it can even be fatal. But I also heard that it is worse for elder people than children. And with people with diabetes, I heard that it cannot be cured. So my question is, as a child with diabetes type 1, if I control my glucose, am I still at high risk of getting complications in COVID-19 for not being as healthy as a child without diabetes? Thank you. That's a very important question. During these conferences, we have always emphasized diabetes type 2, which is usually for adults. But as you just mentioned, diabetes type 1 can also happen in children. It can also be harder to control. But as you mentioned, if you have a good control, the danger is reduced and your immune system, even if it's limited and won't be able to fight COVID-19, it's true. However, all people, including children who have diabetes type 1, need to be considered as a risky patient. So you need to have the same precautions, even extra precautions like the ones we have with elderly people and also other people who have underlying disease like we have mentioned. Stay safe, remember to wash your hands, keep a safe distance, and do not get visitors, at least until we have finished with the first wave of the outbreak. And now we have Dani Monroy Jimenez. Hello, my name is Dani. I'm 11 years old and I have hemophilia. Hemophilia. I have been abiding with the prevention measures, washing my hands, having a safe distance, doing exercise, eating healthy, and I have a few questions for you, Mr. Dr. Catel. The first one is, what can we do to avoid a second outbreak? My second question is that I heard you talking yesterday about people who have issues with clotting, and hemophilia is a problem with blood clotting. So my question is, what happens with patients that have to go to pharmacies and hospitals or clinics to get their medication because they need their medication, but they cannot keep on risking themselves? These are very useful questions, Dani, for you and for other children. We have to avoid a second outbreak. However, we cannot guarantee it. But knowing the story of other outbreaks, like the one we lived 11 years ago with influenza, we assume that over the fall, COVID might come back as a second outbreak. About hemophilia and other clotting issues, these are not an extra reason of complications for COVID. You have the same probabilities of getting COVID just like any other child if you don't abide by the prevention measures. But by having hemophilia, you do not have an extra concern. Now, if you have a hemorrhagic problem, then you'll need to go to a hospital, and perhaps in that hospital, you'll get a higher risk of COVID. If you go to the public health institutions, we have put in certain mechanisms that they can send and deliver to your home the medication you need. They have the list of the medications, and both the health institutions have implemented this measure to deliver the medication so that the patients won't have to go out of their houses during the COVID outbreak. Once it is over, you will have to go to get the medications yourself. Renata, you are up. Good afternoon, Mr. Lopez Gatell. My name is Renata Rodriguez Mendoza. I am 7 years old. Apologies, the sound is cutting off in the virtual booth.
Buenas tardes, doctor Hugo López. Mi nombre es Renata Rodríguez Mendoza. Tengo 7 años y vivo
Good
en la
afternoon.
ciudad de Pachuca.
My name is Renata Reynosa. I'm 7 years old and I live in Pachuca, the state of Hidalgo.
Con insuficiencia mitral ante el coronavirus. Gracias.
what to do when you have deficiency in your immune system. So you have mitral insufficiency, and this happens when you're born and you have the 4 valves of your heart. One of them is not closing completely. So with time, that will affect the efficiency with how the heart pumps the blood, and you have to take certain medication for it. There are other viruses where these type of deficiencies increase the danger of the body's response in the immune system, so it might be less efficient. So just as I was explaining to Solma, you need to be extra careful with the safe distance and always washing your hands, and also avoid any visits to your home and people who might infect you, because we might assume that you can have an extra complication. Same with other children who have this cardiac alteration from birth. Thank you. We have a video from Yanetsi. Hello, my name is Yanetsi, and I have a question for Dr. Lopez-Gatell. I suffer from asthma, and so I would like to know what would happen to me if I get infected with COVID-19. Thank you, and greetings from. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist and specialize in epidemiology. That's great, Yanetsi. Let me tell you, asthma is also one of the diseases that can increase the possibilities of complicating the disease. However, this is not confirmed. We are making the research on influenza and other coronavirus. Asthma, as you know, we have the bronchi, which are the small tubes that go from your throat to your lungs. They get irritated and they close up, so you cannot breathe as well. So you have less efficient oxygen level, and this affects the lungs. And of course, this makes children, young people, and adults with asthma to have extra complications with a virus that attacks the lungs, like COVID. So once again, avoid all visits, keep a safe distance, wash your hands, and wait. And now we have Mary Sofia Leon. Hello, Dr. Lopez-Gatell. My name is Marit. I live in Mexico City and I'm 6 years old. How can I improve my defenses so that I don't get infected with COVID-19? Heroes today do not wear a cape. They wear a coat, a scrub. Those are the heroes we have today. They wear scrubs. Thank you for your question. The body's defenses are a set of cells that we all have in our blood and in our other organs called white cells. And some of them are antibodies that help to fight the infectious agents, in this case, the COVID virus. And so the ability of this immune system, this defense system, in order to work well, depends on a healthy eating. If you want to increase your immune system and have it strong, you need to have a healthy nutrition. Mexico, for quite a long time now, suffers from a bad nutrition because we consume low-quality products that have high sugar, high salt, and high calories. However, healthy foods have been taken away, like vegetables and fruits. So now what we recommend is children to eat a lot of green vegetables like spinach and lettuce, and to have a more comprehensive nutrition with protein and healthy fats. That's the way you can help and increase your immune system. And now I'll give the floor to Jorge Reprieto. Hello, Mr. Lopez Gatell. My name is Jorge. I'm 8 years old, and my question is, can the virus mutate? I'd like to know your answer as an expert in epidemiology. Thank you for your question. So the COVID virus called SARS-CoV-2 can mutate, however, not as much as other viruses. One of the most mutated viruses there are is the influenza one. That's why we have hundreds of types and subtypes of influenza viruses. However, with COVID, these mutations, which are just variations of the genetical information, can change the original virus. And so people who have had the virus before can get infected. However, it does not happen. We have studied the genetic material of the virus in Mexico. We have a full description of the coronavirus that is affecting the Mexican population. However, we haven't seen a fast mutation. Thank you, Jorge. Congratulations for wanting to be an epidemiologist. And now we'll see a video from Alejandro Diaz-Reyes. Hello, Mr. Dr. Gatell. My name is Alejandro. And my question is, what can teenagers do to help doctors during this time? Thank you for your question, and thank you for the willingness of help, of helping. Of course, we have that will ever since we're small, and when we're small, we don't have all the skill sets to help. But the spirit of wanting to help is born naturally when we're children or teenagers. But sometimes it goes away when we start focusing on ourselves rather than others. But that's not helpful. The more we attend to others and we care for others, we can be sure that someone will care for us. Children and teenagers can help. For example, you can disseminate the correct scientific and true information to your friends, to your family members, and with everyone else. You can also help the elderly people who live at home to always have any assistance, for example, for food or physical activity. If you are old enough to accompany your family members, you can help house chores or make sure that nothing is lacking in your home. So you can chip in with those activities. So I congratulate you and thank you for having that helping spirit, and I'm glad to see that a lot of the young population have that same spirit. Thank you. And now I'll give the floor to Clara Cordova. Go ahead, Clara. Good evening, Dr. Gatell. I have a question for you because I'm concerned with the health of my teachers, peers, my family, and myself. So my question is, how are we going to respect a safe distance? Most of our classrooms are small. Do we have to use like the children in China? That's a good question, Clara, and it's a big challenge. the cities we all live in are not necessarily built as big spaces to have a correct safe distance. And as you say, classrooms have a lot of children in them and they are quite small, so that can make it difficult to have a safe distance. I have discussed this with the Secretary of Health and other public officials of health in the country, and we have come to a decision of adapting the organization of the classrooms. We have not defined yet, but this might imply the use of different spaces to have different classrooms, have a lower number of children who will be in their classroom. Besides that, we are also going to add a school filter to detect certain symptoms that might be similar to COVID from home. And we will also check the hygiene using alcohol and washing hands. That's very important. But also, it's important for children to speak out if they have a symptom. Do not wait until the end of the day. You need to say it as soon as you feel it. And this will help us to take care of that child during the school day. Thank you. And now I'll give the floor to Isabela Rodriguez Redondo. Good morning, Dr. Lopez Gatell. My name is Isabela Rodriguez Arredondo, and I live in San Martin of the Pyramids in the state of Mexico. First of all, I'd like to say that you inspired me to be a doctor when I grew up. So I'd like to know if there's anyone immune to this virus. Thank you so much and good evening. Thank you so much for your question, Isabella. We do think that you might have immunity with this virus, so you are protected. Because of what we have studied, we see that when the body overcomes the infection, which is between 10 to 14 days, you might have permanent defenses in your body, but it's not confirmed. We're just learning from this virus. We're just supposing, because we know other viruses like SARS that infected the planet Earth and other respiratory viruses like influenza. However, we are doing the research on immunity, defenses, protection, and we'll see if it's permanent or not. Thank you. And finally, we have Giuseppe Maila Garcia. Go ahead, Giuseppe. Hello, my name is Giuseppe Malia. I am 10 years old, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to speak with you. I live in Valle de Bravo in the state of Mexico. And my question, Dr. Gatell, is what are we going to learn from this break for the country and as a children? How are we going to tackle health challenges? Will the world change after COVID-19? That's a great question and a very important one as well, that we should all be asking ourselves, no matter our age. This outbreak has affected the whole world and it has no precedence. Well, in fact, exactly 101 years ago, we had the influenza outbreak, and it affected the whole world. We were going through a first war, there was a lot of hunger, and we were going through a lot of hardship. Nowadays, we still face those problems. There's still war, there's bad nutrition, there's injustice, and all of these situations are not something we want. So the world can learn that after an outbreak, we need to build a more just society so that everyone has access to the resources we need to have good nutrition, good health, dignified home, a respected job, and with a good income. So these are the learnings that we have as a country and as the world when we have an outbreak like this. Another thing we can learn is how important it is to have a strong health system so that everyone will have the opportunity to get care in the preventive stage during the outbreak and afterwards. And in order to have that, we need the willingness of the states to invest in everything that the population needs and distribute it in a just way. We also need to know that in order to respond to an outbreak, we need to be prepared. So we need to have doctors, physicians, nurses, and all of the healthcare workers in the facilities, in the laboratories, in our systems and our public health brigades. These are always, they always have to be ready. Another lesson we can learn from this outbreak is that when we are a child, you can learn the best practices for your own health with basic hygiene and eating well, especially natural and organic food, wash your hands, and also to help others. The ability of helping others can be threatened with an outbreak such as this one. So this needs to set a undeletable print all children to be more helpful and respectful, not only to people, but to our planet and to the environment. These are just some lessons learned and experiences that can help us to become better as people and as a society. Giuseppe, thank you for your questions. And now we have 5 more videos with questions. Dr. Gatel, why do elderly people are more vulnerable to COVID-19? And remember, keep a safe distance and stay home. The elderly people, yes. Thank you for your questions. So, these seniors that go over 60 to 65 years old, however, if I'm 51, I have less resistance than someone who is 20 or 30. So, just like our joints and our skin gets old and gray hair like me, look, our immune system also starts to lose strength. Our cells and communication mechanisms between cells lowers its capacity. And also with a respiratory infection like COVID, lungs are affected. And when you get older, your lungs are more rigid. And of course, if you are a smoker, your lungs have more problems. It's the same if you are overweight or if you have chronic diseases such as high blood pressure or diabetes. All of this can add to our age to have less resistance to the virus. Thank you. Next video. Hello, Mr. My name is Isabel Chavez Rivera, and this is my little brother, Maximiliano Chavez Rivera. We live in Nogales, Sonora. We have a question for you. How will we know if someone is infected with COVID-19 when we end the lockdown? Thank you for your question. So just like Giuseppe asked, our new normal will be different. We need to be prepared to go back to our normal life of going to school, playing, and enjoying life, but all aware that COVID might be there for more years. We don't know how many years. We are just going through the first wave of the outbreak, which might end in June or July. It will disappear in July. However, we don't know if it will go back. So when we will reopen all the activities such as schools, work, theaters, movie theaters, we will be able to go back, but always with the safety precautions. And this means to wash your hands, to keep a safe distance, and to be aware of what happens in our body so that we can identify any symptoms, for example, fever, a sore throat, or coughing, so that we can have the care we need. So you and your generation will need to adapt to this new normal. You'll need to learn from it, and you'll also need to teach the adults on how to live in a more harmonious way in this type of situation. Next video, please. Dr. Gatel, how can I disinfect money so that I don't get infected with COVID? Right, so with money, bills, coins, and any other physical object, a cell phone, a water bottle, or pencils, can get infected with COVID virus, SARS-CoV-2, and they can transmit and infect it, but it's not very efficient. This means that they are not very efficient in infecting with the virus. We need to be more careful with the droplets of fluids that come out of our body. So, in order to disinfect, we need to sanitize all we touch, for example, our tables and all of the objects. And this has to do regularly, but not every minute. For example, the microphone I'm using right now, when the conference will be over, they will disinfect it with their liquids and it will be ready. But I don't have to be concerned of disinfecting it each minute. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Gatel. This is the first video. I have a very important question. Why does coronavirus get into the cells of the people and destroy the cells? And another important question is, why does coronavirus enter your cells? Thank you, that's a very good question. My teacher, Dr. Alcazar, was explaining this yesterday. And so, let me explain. Viruses are not living things, unlike parasites or bacteria. Viruses are not alive because they cannot reproduce themselves. So, virus needs the cells. Plants and animals also have viruses, but with this specific virus, it gets stuck to a cell, and it's all at a very microscopic level, and they have to go through a small door, which is a protein, and the virus gets into the cell's factory, and that's how they can multiply the infected with the virus. And when they are enough virus within that cell, it will explode and it will go into your blood, and that's how you get infected. One last video. Hello, Mr. Gatel. My name is Yael Alexis. My question is, near my home, there's a tree with bats, and I'm very scared of it. What happens if a bat comes near me and bites me? Will I get infected with coronavirus? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Wild animals, including bats, can infect many types of viruses. And these viruses, somewhere around the world, can infect a human being, and then another human being, and then we have an outbreak such as this one. However, this does not mean that wherever there are bats, you'll have coronavirus. We don't know exactly at what time it went from a bat, which we think is the first transmitter, to human beings. It happened in China, but we don't know exactly where. However, we need to be careful with bats because bats can transmit other viruses, such as rabies. This does not mean that we have to kill them all. Animals are living things and we need to respect them all, including spiders. But we have to keep a safe distance with those animals. And of course, you'll run into them if you live in woods or outside the cities. So just leave them alone, let them be, keep a safe distance, and if you see a group of bats, just go back home and they will leave by themselves. That was the last question, so that's the end of this conference. I'd like to thank all the children that asked their question. We received over 3,500 videos. So thank you so much for your questions. You have once again proven that childhood is the most important stage in life to understand and get to know the world. And you have helped us. We have learned from you, and hopefully this was useful for society so that everyone knows what the children are concerned about. And one last thing, we need to listen to all children. We have to respect them. They have a lot of wisdom and they have deep feelings, and we need to teach them how to convey those feelings in a healthy environment full of respect and protection. These children not only need to share their ideas and questions, but their feelings so that we can have a better society. Thank you. And happy Children's Day.
Quédate en casa.
Ay, perdón. Gracias.
La Secretaría de Salud reporta este 30 de abril de 2020 que en México son 19.224 casos confirmados acumulados de COVID-19, 5.912 confirmados activos. Además hay 15.520 casos sospechosos acumulados y 52.628 negativos acumulados. Hasta el momento, lamentablemente, han fallecido 1.859 personas por el COVID-19. Recuerda seguir las medidas de higiene y prevención y, sobre todo, quédate en casa. Gobierno de México.